Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our first edition of The World This Week. In The World This Week, we present to you a summary of the news that has been happening around the globe. We begin our story with a clarion call from President Donald Trump to President Putin in order to find a way to end the long war that has been raving life of Russians and Ukrainians. In their discussion, they tried to find possible ways to come to an agreement and see how they could further negotiate the terms of peace. After the call, President Trump reached out to his NATO allies to brief them on what was discussed with President Putin. He also held a press conference informing the American people of what was discussed in brief. President Putin also informed his country of what was discussed and some of the possible outcome which he had discussed with President Trump.
Big egos involved, I tell you. Big egos involved. But I think something's going to happen. And if it doesn't, I'd just back away and they're going to have to keep going. Again, this was a European situation. It should have remained a European situation. Should have remained, but we have.
In America, Queen's mother Letitia James is now admitting to fraud. She said she had mistakenly indicated in her power of attorney that she was going to be occupying the Virginia residence. Meanwhile, she had earlier sent an email to her brokers and the bank that she does not intend to be the primary occupants of that residence.
This investigation into me is nothing more than retribution. It's baseless. It has to do with the fact that on a power of attorney, I mistakenly indicated that I was a state of Virginia, but prior to that, I had indicated to the mortgage broker that in fact, in bold cap letters, that I am not a resident of Virginia and never will be. And in the mortgage application, I indicated that I would not live in Virginia and I was not a resident. They just took the power of attorney and they're using that as a basis for enforcement for their investigation, when in reality, the power of attorney was never used to determine my eligibility for a mortgage for my niece for a home in the state of Virginia. My niece who has children, and because I am a bit on, I wanted her to.
This has further led to the proof. This is a fact that the DOJ has been looking for, and in trying to exonerate herself, she has implicated herself further by admitting to fraud. Remember, Letitia James said a simple mistake does not count on an error, and we cannot be talking of error in a sworn document, in a document which was oversight by her deputies. How could her deputies, legal mind, endorsing a document that you will be having a primary residence in another state, whereas you are the Attorney General of your state? Letitia James has prided herself as the champion of protecting the right of New Yorkers, but now she is the champion of, desecrating the rights, values, and the Constitution of New York. In another news, the European Union leaders are preparing a 17-package sanction, or I should say an 18-package sanction that will send a clear message to President Putin. I beg to ask the question, Russia has over 1,000 sanctions, and if 1,000 sanctions could not send a clear message to Putin, what will an insignificant 18 package of sanctions do? There is one thing the European Union leaders should either accept defeat and negotiate with Russia on Russia's terms, or they should change strategy. We keep hearing of statement, we are against this, Putin is this, and this is this, we have the right. For over 3 years, people have the right. Stop crying and act, or please accept defeat and negotiate on Putin's terms. In another story that has sent shockwaves, especially to MAGA base, is Kash Patel and his deputy, Dan Bongino, indicating that Jeffrey Epstein died by suicide. Many people have wondered, how could Kash Patel admit that it was a possible suicide when the circumstances surrounding his death leaves a lot of question mark? One, the fellow inmate of Epstein was taken out of the cell before they supposedly committing suicide. Two, the bodyguards that were in charge of Epstein were nowhere to be found at the time the suicide was committed. And finally, the security cameras that could have provided clue and, of course, captured every incident malfunctioned at the time he was committing suicide.
You said Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide. People don't believe it.
Well, I mean, listen, they have a right to their opinion, but as someone who has worked as a public defender, as a prosecutor, who's been in that prison system, who's been in the Metropolitan Detention Center, who's been in segregated housing, you know a suicide when you see one, and that's what that was.
He killed himself. You want me to? I've seen the whole file. He killed himself.
There was even an indication, according to the New York Post, please let me put it there, where it says that there was an indication that it was a case of murder and not suicide. And one journalist had to say, I believe it is suicide because we are stupid enough to accept such nonsense. This is what he had to say.
Believe that. I'll believe anything the government tells me because I'm an idiot, right?
In another developing story, the person who uncovered Letitia James' decades of fraud, Sam Anta, was in the Republican convention in New York to further expatiate on the lies of Letitia James.
Legal fees like Letitia James facing federal probes. Some are calling it $10 million taxpayer-funded slush funds to protect her from accountability. You know, that's your money, folks, being used to shield the power from the consequences of their actions. But not $1 of it that she spends of your money is going to erase one single signature on those falsified mortgages. So she can spend all the money she wants. In my book, she's guilty.
Train more light and exposing all the tricks which she had been using over the years. In another news, Ukraine launched a massive attack on Russia, and Russia responded with over 300 drones attack, or is it 70 drones attack, 300 missile launch. I'm sorry, I might not have the figure ready. And this has sparked an outcry in the West, and even Trump had to put up this post whereby he said Putin had gone crazy and it seems he wants the whole of Ukraine. He also blamed Zelensky for some statement which to him is very provocative and urged Zelensky, to restrain. He's calling on both parties to come together to find an amicable solution to end this war and stop the bloodshed. Meanwhile, some leaders of the European Union are saying that they have the powers to decide and bring this issue to an end. Please stop saying what you can do and just do it. And so that has been our news for the week.